Night, nonetheless. Woo! If you're wondering what these empty seats were, these are Alli's husband and 3 kids.
Who are on a plane right now, so...
Who are really coming to go shopping.
They're not going to fill the seats.
Right, they're not looking to spend time with you here.
Yeah, not...
They're coming to spend your money.
Yes.
Right? All right, cool. So welcome. It feels more formal on a Friday night, which I really love. I see a lot of familiar faces in the audience, but welcome to XO Group. And our, we do this on a bi-monthly basis, our Founders event series. For those of you who are familiar with our brands, obviously XO Group is the parent of many beloved life stage brands, including the Knot and the Bump. So we help millions of couples and women every month go through a lot of crazy but amazing life stages, whether it's getting married, having a baby, being a parent. Also for the last 20 years, we've been at the epicenter of what we believe is a movement of founders. So we were founded by our fearless leader, Carley Roney, 20 years ago. And since then, we've really tried to be part of the network of a growing number of women who, whether they founded their own companies or just leading the way for people, they are really founders at heart. And we sort of coin founders as women, no matter who you are, where you come from, is women who really love who they are and sort of define their purpose and mission however they choose to define it, right? And so today we're really, really thrilled, Alli, to have you here as one of our founders. We're going to keep this informal. I'm going to ask you any and all questions, and I know the audience here have a lot of questions for you as well. So I'm just going to jump right in. Sound like a plan? And I'm loving the fabulous blowouts here. So Alli, you essentially, I would say, you know, a lot of times we have women come up and founders and they've revolutionized or come up with a new business concept. But in my mind, you've really created an industry where there wasn't one before in terms of blowouts basically becoming a booming business. But let's go back to day one. Do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are, where you came from, and how did you start your professional career?
Well, professionally, I was very kind of lost really out of high school, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And you know, in the background there was always hair for me. I always was fascinated and obsessed with hair, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out how, like, you know, the Christy Brinkley's and Cindy Crawfords of the world had hair like that. It was a mystery to me and something I was wanting to figure out. And you know, I just didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And after going down a lot of different paths, including working in PR and had a dog walking business for a little while. I mean, I've tried a lot of different things. You know, it was ultimately going to beauty school and becoming a hairstylist, but that was really my passion. And I mean, part of me feels like I just did that to learn how to blow out my own hair, which I did. But I feel like when I started beauty school, I loved the atmosphere, I loved the people, I loved everything about it, and I felt like I was on the right path. I mean, that was 20 years ago. I never could have imagined I would end up here doing this, but I always knew, like, that was my thing, that was my passion. And so, I mean, that's really how it all started, with curly hair.
All right, so you're naturally curly?
Yes, this is not natural.
Oh, all right, I wouldn't have guessed
blown
that.
out.
All right.
I learned. Actually, I didn't do it.
And so I read that you started Drybar, though, when you were actually at home.
Yeah.
So you'd been a stay-at-home mom for 5 years. Is that when you also went to beauty school?
No, I went to beauty school in my early 20s and worked in hair, worked in PR, did a couple of different things. And then when I was living in New York City, I met my husband, and we got married, moved to the West Coast, and that's when we actually lived in San Francisco for a year, and that's when I had my dog walking business. I was a little lost then too, but it was after I had been doing hair for a while. But I just, you know, I was wanting to have babies and start a family, and so that was, gosh, I mean, my older son is 12 years old, almost 13, so that was a long time ago. And then we moved to LA, and I started, and I had my second son, and I was a stay-at-home mom for about 5 years. And during that time, and if anybody has kids in the audience, people who have kids, I know you do, you know, I just kind of got the itch to get back out there and do something for myself. So I decided, I now spent all these years doing, you know, hair, that I could do a mobile blow dry business where I could, like, when my kids were in preschool, my kids, you know, or with a sitter or whatever, I could go and do blowouts for a couple hours a day. And it was really just in LA, and it was $40, which I thought was like just an easy round number. Someone could give me 220s and I'd be out the door. And it was also like a great way to talk to adults again, because as you know, when you're with two little kids all day, you start to feel like, oh my gosh, I need to talk to an adult. So I started this business, and I got very busy very quickly, and I started having to say no to so many clients, and I think that's when it started to kind of percolate for me that there's, where did these women go when I can't come to their house? A lot of them just wouldn't do it, wouldn't have a blowout. Or that's when they would tell me about kind of the two bad choices out there, which was, kind of the discount chains that are, that the experience isn't great, the lighting is bad, all the things that just aren't great about that, or their cut and color salon where they're, going and overpaying for a blowout. There's pressure from a stylist to cut and color their hair. There just wasn't
all
a good
they just
option.
want is a good blowout.
Yeah, and that's that's when I was like, maybe I should turn my mobile blow dry business into a brick and mortar. And that's when I went to my brother, Michael, who's my business partner, and my husband.
That's right. You started your business with your brother and husband.
Yeah,
all right.
we were both bald, by the way.
Okay. So they didn't get it.
Right. Well, you would think my brother, whose wife has like stick straight hair, like that kind of hair. Did your hair dry like that?
No, this was
Phew.
nice.
Also, I was going to leave.
Blowout plus a cut.
Yeah. So, but my brother's wife has like that bone straight hair that I like dreamt of, and I always kind of hated her for that, because like she'd get out of like the pool and her hair would like dry straight, and I was like, in what universe does that happen? It's just not the norm. And so he was like, I don't understand. Sarah doesn't blow out her hair, and I'm like,
yeah, she's not normal. She's not normal. Yeah.
And she's not. She beats her, and these guys know. But we love her. But so she, he didn't totally. And I was like, you grew up with me. Don't you remember my crazy curly hair? And I released a book last October, and the first picture of the book is me with my crazy curly hair. But he was watching my little business from the sidelines, and he knew that I was really gaining traction, and I was getting really busy. And my husband, who worked in advertising, which is he's responsible for all the branding.
Oh, we'll get to that. All right,
yeah, he thinks everything is a bad idea, and he also works in a business that's like full of rejection. In advertising, you're constantly told no, no, no. But he was like, you get a manicure every week, and I barely notice, but when you get your hair blown out, it's the first thing I notice. He's like, I think this is a great idea. And so, the three of us kind of came together, and it was very magical, because it was like my brother had the business sense and knew how to help get that piece, which I didn't know and Cameron didn't know. Cam and I always joke around that if it was just the two of us, there'd be like two Drybars. We could make them look really pretty and do good hair, but nobody would really know about it. So my brother had that business and marketing background. So the three of us coming together, it was just like the stars aligned, and we really felt like it was meant to be, and we all kind of had our own skill set. And, a lot of people ask me, like, when you're working with family, like, isn't it hard?
Yeah, with the highs, lows. Yeah.
And we've had our moments, but, because there's such a clearly defined kind of lanes and skill set for all of us, it's always worked. There's a great level of respect between all three of us. It's like when it comes to hair, they trust me. When it comes to branding, we trust Cam, and when it comes to business, we trust Michael. And so, of course, now we have 3,000 stylists, and we have, tons more.
Right, you have 300 locations?
We have, no, we have 87.
Oh, 87. Where did I get the
Whoa.
That's just my imagination. You've gone global.
Our head of operations is right here. Right? She would be dying. Yeah. She's sweating because you said 300.
Sorry.
I was like,
sorry.
Whoa, did we have 300?
I feel like I read that somewhere.
Did someone not tell me? It's crazy, though, that we have 87, because it feels, huge. I still remember when I thought, like, 11 was a massive amount of stores. And then it was like 25 felt like a lot. And then it was like 50 felt like that. And it's like 87. It's like, it's just hard. It's a lot of work. But it's really, it's amazing how much it's grown. It's so much more than we ever thought. Yeah. So blown away. And like you were saying in the beginning, I always say, like, we didn't invent blowouts. We just created a much better experience around blowouts. We made it affordable. We made it accessible. It was not accessible for women to get blowouts. Most people thought, it was like you only had that done when you got a haircut, or you were going maybe to an event, or with celebrities, or very wealthy people. It's just like there was not this middle ground for everybody to kind of partake in this behavior, which is what I think we really changed, and where I think we made a real difference. And now, the proof is in the pudding. We're doing over 100,000 blowouts. a week.
It's your magic number.
That's a lot of hot air.
And you touched upon your husband doing the branding.
Yes.
And I think all of us can attest to, when you come in, the experience of Drybar doesn't just start and end with a blowout. It starts with the moment you receive the email and the visual identity, and then when you walk into the store and just how you make your consumers feel. Do you want to talk a little bit about who conceived that? Was that all your husband, or did you?
In the beginning, it was definitely. We still all we do is talk about Drybar, and we talked about it so much. And in the beginning, in the early days, I think there was it's so funny thinking back, and I don't really talk about this much publicly, but the logo, instead of being an upside down buttercup, was dandelions blowing. It was we had a lot of different concepts in the beginning, and because we were, I really shouldn't talk about this, but because my mobile business was called Straight at Home.
Straight at Home, yeah, that's right.
So initially we were going to call the business Straight Bar. Can you imagine what a disaster that would have been? But we own the URL Straight Bar if anybody wants it. Didn't do that. It was
you okay?
Yes, even my mic was I'm out of here. So we, so that was in the beginning. But we worked with Cameron. But Cameron was really, like I said before, he's always been the gatekeeper of the brand and how we do things, and we certainly weigh in. And Michael and Cam working together can be pretty amazing too, because Michael has a great marketing background, and so together.
Yeah.
And my husband is surprisingly easy to work. I don't know why I said surprisingly, but he's easy to work with, and he's very amendable, and he's really good at be open to feedback. But he is very very particular about how things are and how things look. And I remember when he was building the website initially, and it was dark gray. And did I just get so loud?
Yeah, you got. So did I. What did you do to me?
I don't know what happened.
Oh, all right.
Sorry.
Feel like the echo.
Yeah,
I said it's better. You good?
It's okay.
Sam's
Sorry.
good.
Oh, Sam. So anyway, so he was always very particular in how everything looked and felt. And when he was making the website and it was dark gray, a lot of people were saying isn't this a female brand? Why are you making a dark gray website? And he felt very strongly about how it was going to be, and it was really satisfying for him to be able to say, no, this is what I want it to be. It's dark gray and yellow, and it was, having worked in advertising and worked for other companies and clients who would always tell him no, and he would always come home from work and be like, they made the wrong decision. I don't know why they're doing that. They're making me change it. And they want the font bigger, and blah blah blah. And all the things that advertising guys talk about. But we believed in him, and we felt like he was such a genius when it came to that. We were going to just let him run with it. I think my brother was very adamant about having a blow dryer in the logo, which Cam and I were like, we were like, it's so obvious, but. And then I don't even remember this, but Cam said that I said, let's just turn it upside down, and that's kind of how. And then we were always referring to it as the upside down yellow blow dryer, and I started calling it Buttercup one day, and that stuck.
That's cool.
Those early days of concepting, were really fun. But it's a big part and piece of the brand. And to your point, I do think people have fallen in love with the brand because of the branding, and I always feel like the branding gets people in the door, and then. We have to keep.
But then I think your experience also reinforces the brand, right? You feel a certain way when you see the visual identity, and then you reinforce that from the moment a client walks in. Do you want to talk a little bit about the actual retail experience?
And I think it has to be 360, and I think that's what a lot of brands miss is that you can't have one piece of it. Right. It's got to start from the second you engage with the brand, from from the second you get that email, or if we have an app, and that experience has to be good. To them when you walk in the store, the customer service has to be there. They have to treat you nice. The music has to be good. The movie's got to be, and it's all.
Who picks the movies? I always wonder.
I think I picked them. I don't think I picked them. I think I approved them now. I'm Tara's
good choice
in our marketing department. And I feel like once a year she makes me sit down and look at all the movie lists.
Okay. I like them.
We've gotten in trouble a little bit because when we have Sex in the City, there's some raunchy scenes in Sex in the City, and sometimes we get in trouble.
Oh, okay.
With the moms.
Well, maybe you could have a raunchy room, and then I don't know. I like this.
It's you can't please all the people all the time.
Right.
That's kind of what we chalk it up to. But and so it's all of those little things that make it great. And there's an iPhone charger, and and I think that was the big game changer. When we first started when we first opened Brentwood, I remember Maria Schreiber coming in, who now is a friend and is such an amazing entrepreneur in her own right. But this was almost 8 years ago, and she came in and she's got massive amounts of hair, the thickest hair you can imagine. And she came in and very serious, all business. She had all her stuff, and I was like, well, Maria Schreiber's here, I'm going to blow dry her hair. So I did her hair like 3 hours later, but she was like such like a quintessential like customer in terms of how she experienced it, because she sat down and she was working, but then her like phone was dying. And I was like, oh, we can charge it, and then she was like kind of working and then looking up and like a movie was on, and she like fell in love with the experience like right in front of my eyes. And I remember thinking that like,
did she order a drink? Do you remember she had a mimosa?
But this is back when she was still married to Arnold, and 2.5 hours later, me and my brother were looking at another location, and we get a call from the store, and they're like, oh my god, Arnold's here, Arnold's here, with like this whole entourage, and they're like, his wife won't stop talking about this place, Drybar. She actually ended up opening up a lot of doors for us because she told everybody she knew about Drybar. It was amazing. And
it's like word of mouth.
Yeah,
sure.
it's so powerful. So
that's great.
Yeah, I mean, that was the early days.
You mentioned a lot about your brother and your husband helping. 2014, I believe, your brother stepped down and you hired a more formal CEO. Yeah. How has that transition been? Was that sort of a turning point?
Yeah, I mean, that was an interesting transformation. I mean, we brought private equity partner on about 4 years ago, and it was, we needed to grow. We couldn't grow organically. We needed to raise money. I mean, we've raised over $50 million to date, and which is like so mind-blowing. But they, our private equity partners really wanted us, and they kind of told us this from the beginning, that they wanted us to hire a professional CEO. And I was not really excited about that, and I was a little bit of a brat about that, and I was like, we have this great company and this great culture, and we're going to bring on this like stuffy CEO, and it's going to ruin everything.
Yeah.
And I was very like guarded with it, and they were like, let us weed out some people and bring some people to meet you guys, and they did just that, and the first handful of people I met, I was like, no.
Yeah, you're like, that ain't happening.
Yeah. But when we met John Hefner, who's our CEO, I mean, it was like, and it's funny because he's like 6'5", he's so tall, and he like walked in our office in this like suit, and he was like the picture of corporate, and I was like, no, I was like, I'm not even talking to this. I mean, I was such a brat. But truly, after talking to him for like 5 minutes, my brother and I have like ESP. I mean, we can totally read each other's minds. I mean, we both were like in love with
guy.
Him. We were like, this is the greatest man ever. Yeah. And he's got this, and he just doesn't look like the part, because we're like, like this young, fun, funky company, and I'm like, who is this guy? But he really got it, and he'd worked in like founder-led organizations, so he understood. And I remember him making an analogy about like a stool, and we were the 3 legs of the stool, and it's just like he made us feel like he wasn't going to come in and change everything. He was going to come in and help, and that's what we really needed. Even though it was a hard pill to swallow, because I felt like we were on fire, everything was going great, like we were growing so fast, and then. But Castanea, which is where private equity and people who are smarter than you know things sometimes that you don't, knew that we were going to get to a point that when we were scaling and growing, we were going to need like a professional manager, which we're good at a lot of things. Managing his company of the size perhaps wasn't.
And how many people now?
I mean, we have 3,000 stylists across the country, and our corporate office has like 100 people.
Well, it's a big.
70. It feels like 100.
Yeah.
But it's we have a head of retail, we have a head of product, HR. I mean, we have like 8,000 people in accounting. It's just it's a lot. It's a lot. And I'm not qualified to oversee that level. I mean, for me, what I focus on is the experience in the store, the stylist, the hair, the product development, the things that I am good at, and the vision for the company, where we have brought in a lot of really smart people to help with the other things, which again was really an insight that Michael had, that we need to hire before we need these people, which again, like things that just didn't enter my mind as like a hairstylist and an entrepreneur, and where his value was really needed.
What were the other challenges? So clearly it was like at that stage there was that, wait a minute, I'm doing this. Were there other challenges along the way that as an entrepreneur you didn't expect that you had to tackle?
I think that personally, the personal challenge is as much as I've realized and evolved to know that like we need these people, it's also a very hard thing to accept of letting other people make more decisions. And you go from being this entrepreneur and making every single decision yourself to go to not making every
needing
decision
to trust
and
others.
Trusting your team. And and that's part of it, is that you bring on good people and you have to trust them to go and make decisions. It's just so hard to not like want to put your hands in everything and be involved in everything, right? Ashley, smirking at me. Are you recording this? It's hard, I mean, but luckily we do have this, amazing team of people. And listen, like, things are going to be done a different way. Things are going to go wrong, and it's all, it's all learning. And it's it's an interesting role. I've never been a founder of a company at this size and this level, and there's good days and bad days. But overall, like, the company is thriving. It's a pretty amazing thing to be a part of.
I think more than that, you're an inspiration to so many women now. And how does that feel?
It's so weird. It's weird because, it's like, and I truly, what's funny from my family's kind of perspective is that my brother was always like the overachiever. It was like, what the hell is Alli going to do with her life? It was more like what my family thought. And I think that was, I kind of felt like that too. I was very lost for a long time. And so it's very gratifying to everybody that it wasn't just my idea, and Michael, and I mean, it's amazing that we've built this business together and that we found the most success we'll ever have together with this business. So it's amazing, but it is an interesting like role to pivot into, from being a stay-at-home mom and now doing this, and I think it's also really cool how we have stylists who look at me like, oh, if she did it, I can do it kind of mentality, which I think is really great because it makes people feel like you don't have to have a big fancy degree to,
right, there's no one path to success.
There's no one path.
I
know you have a really fancy background. I was
not really
about you.
Really? Thank you. All right, moving on to you. So what advice? We have a lot of women in the room that either are thinking about starting their own business or honestly just in their own careers, whatever those paths are looking to make that next step. Like, what advice do you have for young ladies themselves in terms of just following their passions and their?
Well, I think obviously I hear that question a lot more now, and I think that it's really interesting how many women today are building businesses, and I feel like there's so many great businesses popping up from women all over, and I mean, I was just telling these girls, someone delivered cupcakes to my hotel.
Aww.
They're cute little cupcakes that have like all of my Instagram pictures on the cupcakes. I was
that's so cute.
I don't know what to think, but it was cute, and it was like.
I hope you post it on Instagram.
I'm going to. I haven't had a chance yet. I could have written it, but I definitely
After
will.
you post from here, of course, right?
I already did that. But and it's innovative, and there's so many amazing companies that are popping up that are founded by women, and I think that women are definitely having a moment, and I think that women are feeling very empowered to start their own businesses and do their own things, and I think that we all have like so many great ideas, and I was just with somebody recently, and they were telling me about an idea that they had, and I was like, I think that's a great idea. I was actually thinking about that idea, and I think she lit up, and she was like so excited that that I thought it was a good idea, but and I was like, I'm sure like a lawyer or somebody in your family who can help you, because she was like, I kind of don't know like how to get started, and I think that's what I think one really important piece of advice that I try to always share is like, you would be very surprised about how many people are actually in your network of friends or separate 6 degrees of separation of people who can help you. And I obviously was very lucky having my brother and my husband, but you would be so shocked about all the people around you that are willing to help and want to get involved and want to like help somebody make their dream come true.
Right.
How many?
So it's like you don't have to do it alone, right? Like, of course, it starts with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in like, it's daunting, it's hard starting your own business. It's a lot of work, and I called in as many favors as I could. I talked to as many people who would talk to me. I still do. There's always networking opportunities, and it's like people want to help people, and women want to help women. Especially now, especially today. I feel like there's this. We all want to help each other. I mean, I get asked all the time from women, and and we're also accessible through Instagram, and I get DMs all the time. If someone's like, "Can I just talk to you for 20 minutes?" I mean, sometimes I can, and sometimes I can't. But I certainly want to, because I think that it's just this kind of give back. Like, I've had so much success, and I want to kind of share that with
it's nice to hear.
as I can, which is why I like doing things like this, because it's fun,
Yeah, it's fun.
to talk about all this stuff, and if that inspires somebody else to start a business.
Right, you never know what you could say to inspire someone, right? It's always like that one thing that you just said offhandedly that could have triggered.
And it's really true. I mean, I feel like for me, my parents were entrepreneurs. They own their own business, so I grew up around that. So it's in my blood. But I think, not everybody did. Like my husband didn't. When we were starting this business, he was a little scared to leave his job because he'd always had a steady paycheck, and knew where everything's come from. This was like,
what?
Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
We could be broke in a couple of months. It's like those are the risks. But I think you have a certain threshold for that when you're an entrepreneur, and you just kind of have to, and know that you're smart. You'll get back up on your feet. You'll get a job if you have to, and go on.
And at that, I was really, so those of you know me, that I'm big on company values and just making sure that everyone that comes into company understands what you stand for and that there's a level playing field. And on your website, you guys put your values front and center. Do you want to talk about how those were conceived?
I feel in the early days, it was funny when we were coming up with I think we were first trying to come up with one mantra, one statement. And it couldn't just be no cut, we just do blowouts, no cuts, no color.
Yeah.
We wanted to really get out there what we felt, and that is really how the 10 core values came to be. And it was a group effort, and it was not just me, it wasn't just Mike, it was all of us sitting in a room saying what are the things that are most important to us, and there's a few that really stand out to me. I talk about it all the time, life is too short to work someplace lame. I feel that to my core. We all work so much that you want to work with people that you love, and people love. I mean, I love you guys, but people that you really
respect and you want to hang out.
And I'm such a big believer in energy and how you feel around people, and if you don't have if you don't have people surrounding you that are as passionate as you are, and as we call it, bleed yellow, then just go do something else. It really is your life is short. It's do what you do, something that makes you really happy, and work someplace that you really love and want to be at. I find it baffling how many people don't, and how many people are in these jobs that they don't love, and it's and I don't think money is the only driver in that. It's you should do something you love. I mean, I lived in New York City in a shoebox for years. I mean, so bad, just because I wanted to be in New York and I wanted to figure it all out, and I didn't really care how much money I was making, back then. And I think that's a really important life lesson to go through to to figure out all that, what you want to do and who you want to be around. So, that's
awesome.
one of our core values, and that's a value that we really try to instill in our stylists too. And and one of them is have fun. And it's not that serious what we're doing. It should be fun, and that's the whole.
It's similar to us. It's funny because we I know when Carley's not here, but when she started the company 20 years ago, there's that notion of bleeding blue. Now it's not yellow and blue. If you mix it, I don't know what they're green.
Green, right?
Shit, that's primary colors. Sorry. I'm wait. I was sitting here literally going, what is blue and yellow?
You have 2 little kids too.
Yeah, I should know that. I should have taught that at some point. I didn't. All right. Anyway, moving on. I've got a series of questions here that go into sort of business line, product line, but I feel like there's probably a bunch of questions here, and I want to make sure we get to them as well. How are we doing on timing? 10 minutes. All right, so let's open up for questions rather than my boring questions over here. And if not, I'll keep going with my questions. What do you guys have for Alli?
Come on.
It's Friday night. They just want their food blowout.
She's going to go out and do it.
Well, I did have we had our company actually submit some questions ahead of time too. So it's where do you find inspiration and motivation professionally and personally, Alli?
I think motivation and inspiration is kind of everywhere. I mean, I think it depends on the week. I feel like I'm very. I feel like I'm a very obsessive consumer, which we were talking about before.
What was the name of the brand again?
Supreme.
Okay, I gotta write it down.
Supreme.
Do you guys know Supreme? I did not know. I'm feeling very uncool.
My 12-year-old son is obsessed. It's I was telling her all about it. It's such a racket. I mean, it's amazing. But and I think that now that I have kids who are 10 and 12, I do they definitely teach me things about Snapchat and all that stuff. But I think there's inspiration everywhere. I mean, I truly get inspired by things all the time, different people I meet, fashion, and there's and we are. I mean, I feel I'm sure you guys agree. I'm on my phone all the time, and I'm always seeing what people are doing, what people are wearing. I mean, I feel like I shop.
Do you follow a lot of influencers?
I mean, yeah.
I get in trouble for not like posting on social, so I just want to see how.
I'm really good at it. I mean,
yeah, you are very good. I was stalking you earlier.
Good at posting. I don't know how good my posts are. I just try to do it as much as I can, and it's. I find it kind of fascinating how, it's just we consume like social media the way I used to consume magazines. You know, it was like I remember just like poring over magazines to get that inspiration to like find the newest like makeup or fashion or hair, and now it's all on Instagram, and that's where you get it. I mean, Instagram has kind of become the new.
It's a new digital magazine.
And I think that I mean, and I like you can like swipe up to shop what someo's wearing. I mean, I do that like all day long.
I love it.
Because it's so easy. I mean, it's amazing what the world is like now. So I think there's inspiration.
Cool. All right, so the other question we got. Oh, we do. Okay, let's go. Question?
In terms of starting the business, how did you go about starting, I guess, the foundation? Like, was it a timeline? I know
business plan?
New, Did you, like, even just get started?
Well, I didn't have a business plan. No business. Is that funny to you, too? I had a vision, and I feel like I knew that I wanted to turn basically what I was doing on this small scale of doing blowouts in people's homes. I wanted to be able to do that in a space, in an actual store, and that again, speaking of connections, my brother had a very good friend who's an architect, and he called him up and was like, my little sister has this idea for a hair salon. Would you be interested in like helping us build it? So that was like the first couple of steps, like meeting with our architect to decide what we wanted it to be. And it's interesting how I'm such a believer in everything happens for a reason. When I was operating my mobile business and I was doing like my clients' hair like in their living room or their kitchen, not usually in their personal bathroom, and I discovered that they couldn't see anything I was doing their hair until I was done, and they'd run in their bathroom, and I'd always hear this like, oh my god, I get so excited. And so I told that story to my brother and to our architect Josh, and so that's how the mirrors are behind. That's why the mirrors are behind the stations in Drybar, and that just informed that. So it was like. And there's a lot of those stories. So it's like a lot of these things, I was talking to our architect about what I wanted it to be, and that was a huge piece of it, I think. And I know that I was very lucky to have, and he's still our architect today, and he's amazing. Cool. And I've never really worked with any other architects, but my brother had, and my brother always talks about how, so many architects are such divas and so hard to work with, and I didn't experience that with Josh, but that is a big piece of it, at least when you're opening up a store, like a business like that, is the flow and the way the shop feels. And I learned so much from Josh about discovery and the fact that, like, we wanted, he really taught me that, when someone walks in your space, they're going to discover things as they continue to go, even when they go into the bathroom. Like, our bathrooms are really cute and chic, and that was something I don't think I would have necessarily thought about, but I'm so proud that when people walk in our bathrooms, like, they look
right, it's part of the experience.
Yeah, so that was like a big piece of it, and so I think it was just like it all coming together. And then it was, I remember I used to, because I didn't have a business plan, but I used to think like if we could do 10 blowouts an hour for 7 or 8 hours a day, or how are we going to make money? How are we going to make this work? And we do so many more blowouts. I mean, I think the number we were trying to hit in Brentwood, which was 8 chairs, was like 35 to 40 blowouts. Like, that would make us have a good business. And now that would not be good. I mean, we're doing more closer to 100 a day, so that was my number to make it work. And so it was like, not.
So it's like back of the envelope math to get it.
Back of the envelope. And then my brother kind of came in, and he was running a real estate marketing company at the time, and he came in and he started making spreadsheets and all that stuff, and I was like, okay, you do that, make sure it's all working.
Do your thing.
I'm not a big spreadsheet person, but you need somebody who is. But I wasn't. But yeah.
Well,
Hi, I'm Nikki. So I see you guys have a majority of the market share, but I wanted to know how you respond to competition.
I love it. No, I don't love it. I mean, I think I used to be more maybe sensitive to it, and I feel like in those first couple of months we opened the first shop in Brentwood. I remember the first copycat was like right down the street, and I used to like drive by and stalk it and be like, are they busy? And I was really nervous. And what I came to realize, what we all came to realize very quickly, was that there was this secret sauce that we have that makes Drybar kind of stand on its own and unique, and it's not one thing, it's a lot of different things, and I think it's very hard to duplicate what we do, but it doesn't seem that way. It looks like a very low barrier to entry, that you hire some stylists, you paint some walls, and it's just so much more than that. So I feel like now I am still sensitive to it. I still pay attention, and I think that I think the good part of it is I think the competition keeps us really on our toes and keeps us at the top of our game. And I also think it's like it's raised awareness for the whole category, which I think when we first started, there was women like me and like my women from my mobile business and like a handful of other women who like knew what a blowout was, but like my sister-in-law, she didn't even know what a blowout was, and a lot of women didn't, and a lot of women don't. I mean, we have 87 locations, and when we go into a new market, sometimes they're like, what do you guys do? Like, what? And so there's still that opportunity to teach consumers about it. So there's definitely been times where we've gone into a city where we weren't the first to market, even though we do have so many more than anyone else. And we've kind of been able to take a lot of that business because I think we do it a little bit better. But we were always really scared about going in when we weren't the first to market. But it's turned out to be okay. But I do also think there's like enough women to go around. I mean, I really do. So
everyone needs a blowout, and people need to be convinced.
Everyone needs good hair.
I got you 4 customers today on the train. So I was like, hey, I'm interviewing Alli Webb from Drybar, and they were like, Drybar? And I'm like, blowouts. And they're like, you just paid to get a blowout? And I'm like, yes, once a week. They're like, what? Why would I do that? I'm like, because then you don't have to worry. Like, it's done. You don't do anything. But,
Well, that's the most fascinating thing about this whole business is that we definitely changed behavior, and again, I didn't mean to. It just happened because what, like you said, women don't have to worry about doing their own hair. They don't have to do their hair for days, and a lot of women will first come to us because they're going to a wedding or they're going to an event where they want to have really great hair, but they're like, oh, for this price, I'm going to come next Tuesday because I just want to feel good. And we kind of joke that we're not selling blowouts, we're selling.
I was like, you save money on this, this, and this. You can wake up in the morning, spend time with your kids, do this. By the end of it, they were like, where's the closest Drybar? You guys owe me.
You're a great spokesperson.
You guys owe me.
Calling you later.
We'll do it later. All right, good. Any more? Oh, we've got lots. Okay, we'll go to the back.
Hi. So obviously you talked a lot about the brand and developing the look of it, the experience inside once you get your blowout. But what about the smell? I will be in a spin class, and literally the girl next to me, I'm like, she's wearing dry shampoo from Drybar.
That's a good class.
It's a signature. And how did you guys decide to develop that?
Well, we decided to develop product. I mean, I wanted to do product from the very beginning, but it was so daunting, and we were so busy opening stores, and I didn't know how to start a product line. It was actually when our private equity group, Castaneda, came in, and Janet Gerwich is the founder of Laura Mercier Cosmetics, really started introducing me to some of the best labs, and so I was able to get that going. And it was about 3.5 years into when we had, I don't know, 15 stores, and I wanted a product line that was a very cohesive and did, help your blowout last longer, wasn't heavy, a lot of things that I wanted it to be. And one of the big things when you're making any kind of, I guess, beauty product is the fragrance. And I've just never been a very big perfume person. I feel like I'm very sensitive to smells. So it was just a lot of trial and error of things that I loved and felt like I could live with. And it's funny because Janet, it's a story I always tell. She was very heavily involved in the beginning, and it was kind of between the smell that is now and this ginger smell, which was also really nice, but I just didn't really love it. Janet loved it, and I was very still kind of getting my sea legs back then, and I had to go up against Janet and say, I don't like this one, I want to go with this, because that was what I really felt in my heart was the right thing, and I just felt like it was a really good smell, and so it was a lot of when there's a fragrance company here in New York that I spent a lot of time in, and it's and it's funny how you think you like the way something smells until you smell it in its raw form. Because I used to be I want this, and then they're okay. And they couldn't, for so long, we couldn't get the fragrance right. And I finally went to their lab, and they had me smell the raw components of these, which is a whole other world. And I was oh, I don't like these at all. here I was telling everybody to put them in our products, and then realizing I didn't like them. So it's an evolution. And what happens now is like we've added a couple of more fragrances. Like Triple Sec has a different fragrance than Detox, and now there's an evolution of the products. The fragrance that stays in line with what it was in the beginning. But it's really the product thing is very fascinating because it's crazy how things are affected. Like a certain base of one product doesn't work with certain fragrances, where like sometimes it like just smells terrible, or it changes the performance of it or it turns like it yellow. I mean, there's a million. It's a really very complicated. But thank you for liking it. It's really neat. We just came out the candle. That is very exciting. If people were begging for candle, and now people want a fragrance, which we're getting that too.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot, but just spray Drybar all around you. But I hear that a lot about people saying, like, hugging their friend and being like, oh, you just went to Drybar. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's a whole marketing campaign.
Yeah.
Right? That's cool.
Right?
All right. Who else?
I'm curious about the breakdown of the clients. Do most of them come in for weekly or bi-weekly blowouts, or is it events?
It's all over the place. I think we have a core group of women who don't wash their hair anymore, who come into Drybar and they're like, you guys do it. And then there's kind of every level. There's I don't know the exact breakdown. Tara probably does, but it fluctuates, and there are those like heavy users, which I think, what do we call them? Gold mines, because that's one of our products. Where those women, you're a gold mine.
I am a gold mine. Thank you.
We love the gold mines. I mean, it was the name of our product. We didn't just come up with that.
And your gold mines tell people about it, so the gold mines continue to pay forward.
And I would say that's probably the smallest subset because truly those women are not washing their hair. They're coming in 2 or 3 times a week, and they have memberships, and that's it. And then it kind of goes down the line. And it also depends on the city. I feel like New York and LA are definitely, our biggest markets. We have the most stores. We have the most clients here in LA. But I mean, Dallas is also a really thriving market, as you would imagine. They love big hair. They don't think they do, but they do.
Yeah.
It's just everything's bigger when you go to Texas.
That's so funny. Cool. Who else? A couple more, I think, right? Got it down there? Oh, yeah.
Hi. Thank you so much for hosting this with us tonight. I just wanted to ask you, as someone who's successful and an entrepreneur, you've likely developed habits daily, of which, what would you say and recommend are the most effective ones, or the ones that you want to pass along to other women who want to live out their daily lives by emulating you in some way?
Habits, I think it's definitely a balance, and I feel like it's kind of, especially with having 2 young kids, that I'm kind of always trying to figure out. I feel like I have a habit of texting Ashley a lot.
Do you sleep? How many hours a day do you sleep?
I'm such a night owl. I'm such a night person, and I'm like such a I don't like the morning. And my kids get up at like 6 a.m. And, are you saying workout? Yeah, exercise is a really big thing for me. Which, I also didn't allow myself. I was in the early days. I used to make myself. I would be at the office at 9 because that's when everybody got in, and that was what you did, right? But I realized that exercising, getting that in the morning was really important to me to, feel at my best. Because, and also because I'm out front and center, and I feel like I have to be in good shape, but I also have to, just feel good and kind of release those endorphins. And I think that is a really big piece to me. And I think that the whole self-care category, I think, is something that's so undervalued. And I feel like and it's almost like we're embarrassed to talk about it, that we, I get a massage usually once a week, and I feel like that is my, some women meditate, and everybody just does different things, but I feel like women should do. I mean, all people, not just women, you guys too. Should do. There's one guy here. Hi.
You got 2.
And I know him.
Oh, okay. We need questions from the man. No.
I feel like we all kind of undervalue the importance of recharging, and I feel like for years I didn't do that, and I feel like it really burns you out. And being an entrepreneur and just working around the clock, because make no mistake, when you're an entrepreneur, you work around the clock. It doesn't ever stop. You don't ever shut it off, and it's, you know, it's hard. And I think taking good care of yourself in, you know, making sure that you feel your best, it's only good for your company that you're going to be your best, you know. So yeah, I think that's a good one.
Cool. Time for one more.
I feel like CSR, corporate social responsibility, is a really important component of the success of an organization. How do you choose what organizations you give back to?
You know, we've worked with a lot of different organizations. I mean, I feel most drawn to, you know, organizations that have to do with women and family. You know, we've worked with an organization called City of Hope, and like last year? I think 2 years in a row we've done where we've made our detox dry shampoo, which is our bestseller, minis in pink for that period, which by the way we would never do because Cameron is crazy about the branding, everything has to be yellow, but we did that.
What does pink and yellow make? See, that was a hard one. It's not a, I don't know. You can do orange, the pink and the yellow.
So that was, you know, that was something we did where I think it was like $1 of every bottle sold went back to City of Hope. So we raised quite a lot of money for them. And then I also work very closely with an organization called Baby to Baby in LA, which is this amazing organization it started in LA for kind of underprivileged families, single mothers who are just, you know, really struggling and can't like afford diapers. I mean, the numbers are staggering, and they've expanded from just LA to other cities. And so we do a lot with them, raising money, and we have bins in all of our shops around the holidays where, you know, where we're raising, where people are donating diapers and toys so these kids can have Christmas. And there's, you know, so there's a lot of things, and you know, we're always kind of thinking more what else we can do, because I do think that's an important thing. And I have a couple other things that I'm working on right now. I can't tell you yet. Very top secret. But yeah, I do feel very compelled to, you know, give back, which is like kind of why I do things like this too, and but on a much like bigger scale too. So we feel very passionate about that.
Cool. Melissa tells me I've got 3 minutes. We can take one more question. Do we have any Facebook Live questions? I got one more from the company. We'll end it. So you're a mom to 2 great boys, apparently, according to whoever wrote this question. From what you've told me, they do sound lovely. And as a woman and as a mom, we're always talking about balance. What does your idea of balance look like? Is there such a thing? You talked about entrepreneurs.
I don't think there's a thing. I feel like it's funny how much that word gets thrown around and how much people talk about like finding the balance. Like I don't think it exists. I feel like there's days that it's good and better than others, but I think it's a constant push and pull. I think sometimes I'm a really great mom and I feel like I'm dropping the ball at work, and sometimes it's, you know, it's vice versa. And there's a lot of guilt associated with it, because it's like if I'm with my kids and not thinking about the business, I feel bad, and if I'm, you know, and vice versa, if I'm with my kids and I'm thinking about the business, I feel really bad, you know. And you know, I probably shouldn't tell this story, but my kids sometimes when they're now they're 10 and 12, so they understand guilt, and they're like, they
play on it.
When I'm traveling a lot, which I'm trying to cut back on, they are like, "You're like our stepmom." Isn't that like the meanest thing ever?
Ooh, I don't think they shouldn't get that much shopping tomorrow. I think that stepmom can't buy you a lot of stuff.
But I know that they knew it was like a dig, and they're messing with me. You know, I have an exceptionally great relationship with my kids, but they're like at that age where they know, because they're like, what, you know, they ask me sometimes, like, why don't you just stay home? You know, I'm like, well, you know, it's important that I have things that I love, and I love my work, I love what I do, and I wouldn't be happy, I wouldn't be me if I wasn't doing something that also fulfilled me. I'm like, and I try to compare it to them, like, you know how you love to go to football, and you want to go to your friend's house, and you want to go shopping at Supreme, and all the things that you love that you know satisfy you.
Yeah.
You need those things. I give you those things. We provide those things for you, and that same philosophy applies to me too. You know, that I want to do the things that I love, that things that motivate me and things that make me happy. And I think I'm a better mom to you because of that. You know, which I know is a big concept for a 10-year-old to grasp. But
I'm sure they get it. They get it. You're strong. Well, thank you so much for your time. I know your time is limited, so thank you. I think we're going to hang out if you guys want to mingle, and thank you for joining us on a Friday night. I hope you guys have a lovely, lovely weekend. All right. Thank you. That was awesome. Thank you.